Hey guys, I hope y'all are having a great day today. So we're going to be revisiting the new Nars Light Reflecting Foundation. I did a dedicated review and wear test on this in my last video. So we're going to be testing it out again today. However, we're also doing a foundation battle. So this one is going up against another Nars foundation, the Sheer Glow. So I do already have both of them on my face. So let me know which side y'all think is which. I know in my last foundation battle, y'all couldn't tell which side was which. Let me know if you can tell today, because like I said, I do already have both of them on. So what we're going to be looking at today is if you already have the Sheer Glow foundation, is it necessary for you to try this one, or are these pretty much the same, or are they different? That's what we're going to be looking at today. So before we get started, if you're here for the first time, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. We do makeup videos on this channel that cater to the 40 and over crowd, but makeup lovers of all ages are welcome. So make sure you subscribe while you're here today. I would love to have you join, and I would really appreciate your support. Okay, y'all, let's jump right into it. So I'm looking on Sephora's website, and based on the information that's being provided on both of these foundations, they definitely have some similarities and some differences based on the claims of them. But I have a feeling they're going to be pretty much the same in terms of how they wear on the skin. So that's what we're going to be testing out today. So there is one main difference in how they're being marketed. So the Sheer Glow foundation is being marketed kind of like as a regular foundation, whereas the new light reflecting one, this one is marketed as a skincare makeup hybrid. So the claim is if you wear this consistently for a few weeks, you will start seeing some skincare benefits to it. Whereas this one, the Sheer Glow, it doesn't make any type of claim like that. So we're not going to be testing anything skincare related with these two foundations, because number one, we just need time to do that. We have to wear them consistently for a few weeks. And also only one of the foundations is claiming to have skincare benefits. We're more so going to be looking at how they apply, how they look, and how they wear on the skin to see if they're pretty much the same foundation. So let's go through some of the information about each of them, and then we'll start applying the makeup. I'm going to be starting with the Nars, the Light Reflecting Advanced Skincare Foundation. So this one is $49 and it's available in 36 shades. It claims to give medium coverage with a natural finish, and is supposed to be good for redness, dullness, and uneven texture. Some of the highlighted ingredients in here are biometric oat, which improves clarity and reduces redness, Japanese lily turf, which supports a strong skin barrier by helping your skin to maintain moisture, and cacao peptides and milk thistle, and they minimize the negative effects of blue light and environmental stressors. So that's the main information on the new Nars foundation. And now let me give you some information on Sheer Glow. So this one costs $47. It's a couple dollars cheaper than the new Nars one, and it's also available in a few more shades. So this one has 40 shades to it. This one is also a medium coverage with a radiant finish. This one is also good for dullness and uneven texture. So this one claims to have a radiant finish, whereas the new Nars foundation has a natural finish, but they're both supposed to be good for dullness and uneven texture. And the highlighted ingredients in this one are vitamin C, which brightens the skin, and turmeric, which enhances your skin radiance and evens the look of your skin tone. So that's the overall information about both of the foundations. So let's start applying them side by side so we can see what they look like. So when I'm doing these side by side comparisons, I like to apply both of the foundations with the same product if I can, or at least two products that are very similar. So I'm going to make a little exception for today, because I do want to apply both of these with a brush. So for one of them, I'm going to be using my Merit Beauty brush. I've been using this a lot lately because I've been really liking it since I first tried it. And then for the other one, I'm going to be using my Morphe E63 brush. So as you can see, these are shaped differently, and I like to use two products that are shaped the same and have like the same amount of density in the bristles, because I feel like that's just gonna, like, I guess, even out the playing field. So they do kind of have like the same amount of density. I don't know if that's like translating on camera, but they're shaped a little bit differently. I really just want to use these two because as of right now, these are my two favorite foundation brushes, and like I said, I just really want to apply both of these with a brush. So I'm gonna start with the Nars Light Reflecting Foundation, and let's apply that on this side of the face. And I typically don't wear foundation primer, so I just have my skincare and my sunscreen on. So I'm gonna go right into the foundation. When I tested this out yesterday, it was squirting all over the place. Like the squirts are like really small and really fast. So instead of applying it directly onto the skin with the pump, I'm gonna put this one on my finger and then dot it on. And because the squirts are pretty small with the light reflecting foundation, I did do about 2 pumps, but I feel like 2 pumps in this foundation is similar to like 1 typical pump in like any other foundation that I've used that has a pump. So for this side, I'm going to be applying it with my Merit Beauty foundation brush. And this one claims to give medium coverage, and I feel like it's buildable to medium coverage. Like, I think that this one gives a good amount of coverage for the amount of product that comes out. But I don't consider this medium coverage with like the first layer. It's definitely like good coverage for someone who has less to cover up than I do. But I feel like this is maybe like almost medium coverage, but not there just yet. And I'm pretty sure it was in the Nars video that I mentioned that I wasn't sure if it was the brush or the formula of the foundation, but one of these two, or maybe just the combination of them, is making the product blend out really fast. But I've used this with other foundations and other like complexion products, and I've noticed how this blends stuff out pretty fast. So that's about 1 layer of the light reflecting foundation, and I think it gives me like a really smooth, kind of like a poreless look on my face. And I just like the way it lays on my skin. It looks really, really pretty. Okay, so now let's move on to Sheer Glow. So I hope I remember to do this. Let me shake this up because this is my first time using this. The Sheer Glow foundation does not come with a pump. So what I want to do toward the end of this video is I want to see if this pump fits on this bottle. I'm sure it does, but I want to wait until the end of the video so that I don't mix up the 2 foundations. But there's no like type of applicator on Sheer Glow. So that's another main difference too, is that Sheer Glow doesn't come with a pump. So I'm gonna have to put this one on my finger and dot it on. So right off the bat, I can tell that the Sheer Glow formula is a little thicker, and it is taking me longer to apply because it's so thick and it doesn't have a pump. I would have been better like kind of pouring it on a palette maybe and picking it up that way, but this one is definitely thicker than the other one, the light reflecting foundation. Okay, so over here I'm going to be blending this out with my E63 brush. I feel like I may not have quite as much product over here as I do on the other side, just because it was taking me longer to get product out. And I'll remember to say this in my intro, but I am testing out shade CARACAS in both of these foundations. And yesterday I felt like CARACAS and the new Nars foundation was just a smidge too dark for me. This one looks pretty much the same. This one looks a little bit lighter. CARACAS in the shade, Sheer Glow in the shade CARACAS. It looks just a little tiny bit lighter than the light reflecting foundation in the shade CARACAS. So again, this one over here is the new light reflecting foundation, and then this one over here is the Sheer Glow foundation. I already see some differences, but I feel like I'm noticing some differences because I'm like really scrutinizing the two products. I feel like to the naked eye, you really can't see too much of a difference. So let me know what differences y'all see. But this one over here, the Light Reflecting Foundation, this one claims to give a natural finish. And the Sheer Glow Foundation, this one claims to give a radiant finish. I think I'm getting more of a radiant finish on the Light Reflecting Foundation side. I feel like my skin looks a little bit more glowy over here. I definitely see some glow over here, but I think I'm getting more glow on this side. So let me know what y'all think. Outside of that, I don't really notice too much of a difference between the two, outside of the shade. This one is coming off just a little bit more neutral to me. Like it looks a little bit more dull over here, the shade Caracas. This one I think is a better match. This one claims to have a neutral finish, but I think it's a bit more of like a reddish finish. This one just looks a little bit more dull to me, but I mean, overall, they look pretty much the same. And I think I'm liking this one better, but that might be more so the shade, because like I said, this one looks a little dull to me. Okay, let's go in with another layer. So again, I'm doing 2 pumps of the Light Reflecting Foundation because the pumps are really small. So keep that in mind. And I do know from yesterday that this is a really nice buildable formula. So when you go in with that second layer, if you have a good amount of stuff to cover up like me, your second layer will pretty much cover that stuff up. Okay, so here is 2 layers of the Light Reflecting Foundation, and I just really like the way that this one lays on my skin. I think my skin looks really like smooth over here. This one has a really nice finish too. I feel like the finishes, they look pretty much the same to me. I just think I like this side better just because the shade is just not quite as dull. But I really like how this foundation looks on my skin. So let's go on the other side and build up the Sheer Glow one. This time I'm gonna pour some out on my little palette here because it took me forever to get product out of here because there's no pump. I don't know if you guys can kind of make out what I'm talking about, but this is the consistency of Sheer Glow. And you see how it's not moving, it's not like dripping down my finger at all. It is like a much thicker, it's not thicker, that's not the right word. I guess it's more of like a moussey isn't quite the right word either, but I don't even know like what word to use to describe it, but the consistency of it is definitely different. And it's kind of surprising that it's not as liquidy as this one, but it like the finish of it is pretty much the same. So I'm just picking it up off of my palette and then dabbing it on my finger. It is going to be a little bit more challenging for me to make sure that I am applying the same amount because I can't pump the Sheer Glow one out. I have to, you know, pour it and then dab it on my finger. And then I'm going back in with my E63 brush. I don't know if I mentioned anything about how this one blends out, but this one blends out really nice too. It blends out pretty much the same as the other one. This brush, like the brush head, it covers more surface. So it is blending out, you know, just as fast as the other side, but I think that's because, like I said, the brush head is bigger. Okay, I zoomed y'all in a little bit more. So again, on this side, this is the Light Reflecting Foundation. And then on this side, we have the Sheer Glow Foundation. Now that I have that second layer on for Sheer Glow, it doesn't look quite as dull as it did with the first layer. So I guess that's just because the second layer is just covering up more stuff. So now I'm having a hard time deciding like which one I like better. So let me know what y'all are thinking in the comments. I'm gonna let them sit for a couple of minutes and we'll see how they set down, and then we'll see if we notice any other differences. All right, it's been about 2 minutes, and the only difference that I'm noticing is the same thing that I said earlier. The Light Reflecting Foundation side, to me, it still looks a bit more radiant than the Sheer Glow side. The Sheer Glow side is supposed to be the radiant finish. The Light Reflecting side is supposed to be the natural finish. I feel like they're the opposite of that, but they both look really nice. Like, and I think that I can tell the difference because I'm like really looking for differences. But I mean, in general, I think that they do pretty much look the same, but I am noticing a bit more of a glow on this side. So let me know if you would agree. But yeah, I think I like both of them. I don't really have a favorite in terms of the finish right now. I think they both look pretty nice. So let's finish up the rest of the makeup so that we can start the wear test. And then sometimes we can like really see like what foundation we like better, if we do like one better, like when the whole look is done. So let's go ahead and do the rest of our makeup. And per the usual, I'm gonna kind of go through this part pretty fast. So I'm starting with my Kevyn Aucoin concealer on the under eye. I was a little heavy-handed with that concealer today, which it's very easy to do that because this concealer is like very, very full coverage, but no big deal. So next I'm going in with the Anastasia concealer. So I use this more so as a brightening concealer, whereas the Kevyn Aucoin one is more so for color correction. So I do typically blend out the concealer on the chin and the forehead with residual foundation, but just to try and keep it as fair as possible. Like, instead of having to pick one of those foundation brushes, I'll just use this brush for the concealer in all the areas. I usually use this one just for the corners of my mouth and the under eye area. I'm going back in with both of my foundation brushes, and I'm just going to do like one final blend where my foundation is meeting my concealer. And I'm setting my under eye with my Kosas Cloud Set powder. I'm using pretty much all the same stuff that I used in the last video. I think, yeah, I think I am. And then I'm gonna use the Rare Beauty blush in the shade Believe. So I just want to put this in my bronzer before I set the foundation because they're cream and liquid products. And then my Say Beauty bronzer in the shade Deep Bronze. I like for my bronzers to be a bit more subtle like this time of year. But yesterday when I was editing my video, I wish that I had on a little bit more. So I'm putting on a little bit more than I did yesterday. And then I'm going back into the Kosas powder and I'm going to set the rest of my face. I am using a different brush today. This one is just a little bit more dense than the brush that I have been using lately. I just want to try this to like help me to further push the powder into my skin. After I powder my face, I like for it to maintain some of that glow from like the foundation and the blush and all of that. But sometimes I feel like I just need a little bit more powder than I put on. And then I'm putting just a little bit more powder on the corners of my nose since I'll be wearing my glasses for today. So I have on like 3 different eyeshadow palettes today because I was just having some issues when I was trying to come up with an eyeshadow look. But one of them is the Beauty Bakerie palette. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to just tap into one of these colors to give myself an inner corner highlight. And for my lips today, I'm wearing my Nematang Dose of Colors lipstick in the shade Penny. This lipstick unfortunately broke on me, so I do have to be pretty careful when I'm applying it. Okay, and here is our makeup for today. So one more look at the foundations before we start our wear test. So again, this is the Light Reflecting Foundation on this side. And then over here we have the Sheer Glow foundation. So now that my makeup is complete, do you guys notice any differences? Is there one side that you're preferring over the other? I do kind of feel like now that the makeup is all done, and I guess especially because of that setting powder on top of the foundation, that is making both of the finishes look a little bit more of the same, whereas before I set it, where is my mirror? I'm sorry, I'm always losing stuff like while I'm filming, but anyway, before I set the foundations, to me, like I said, the light reflecting one looked a bit more glowy and more radiant, whereas the Sheer Glow one did look a bit more like a natural finish to me. But now that I have set both of them with a powder, I do feel like they look more similar to one another. So I think that they look pretty much the same. So let me know what y'all think. So we're going to do a wear test to see if one of these foundations wears any better than the other. So it's going on 12 noon today. So I will try to stretch this out for about 8 hours. When I tested out the this new foundation, I did manage to get to 8 hours before I got like shiny and needed to refresh the makeup. So let's see if we can do an 8-hour wear test for today. So I will see y'all back a little later on. Okay, it's almost 7 o'clock in the evening, so that's going to put us at about a 7-hour wear test for today because we started like right at 12 o'clock. So this is what we're looking like. So again, this over here is the light reflecting foundation side, and this over here is the Sheer Glow side. So let me know, what are y'all thinking about how it wore? Do you think one wore better than the other? I did say earlier that I was trying to stretch the wear test out to 8 minutes, 8 hours, but I'm ending it at 7 hours because I don't think that the light reflecting foundation is wearing quite as well as it did yesterday. I don't think that my makeup looks horrible by any means, but I am already as shiny as I was yesterday at 8 hours as I am right now at like 7 hours, and I feel like maybe even a little shinier than yesterday. So I just got a little shinier, like a little faster today is what I'm trying to say. So that's why I just decided to end it, and I have already decided like my final thoughts on both of the foundations. So let's talk a little bit about the light reflecting foundation. So as I just said, I am a little bit more shiny today than I was yesterday, but I think overall the makeup is still definitely intact. And I can tell just by looking at it, when I blot off this excess oil, which I'm gonna do in just a minute, I think it'll be just fine. So I'm still liking the way that this wore on my face today, although it didn't last quite as long as yesterday. I still think that I'm really liking this one. And for the Sheer Glow side, it doesn't look horrible, but I don't think that this one wore as well as the light reflecting one. So I think I'm just like a tad bit more shiny like on the sides of my nose right here, but I think overall like the level of shine is pretty much the same on both sides. But right up in here, I think that I'm just slightly more shiny, but let me know if you agree with that. But also on the side of my nose, I do think that my face looks a little bit more textured over here than it does on the light reflecting foundation side. Now, like I said, this doesn't look horrible, and I'm interested to see like how this refreshes when I blot and repowder. But before doing that, just looking at how the makeup looks right now, I think that this side is just wearing more smoothly, and this side is just looking a little bit more textured. And I also wanted to point out the shade because y'all hear me say quite often that I think what I'm seeing in my viewfinder looks different from what I'm seeing in my mirror. But also the Sheer Glow side, it looks like maybe this oxidized a little bit. It just looks a little darker, and when I first put this on this morning, I actually thought that this one was a little bit lighter maybe than the light reflecting one. I have to go back and watch the first part of the video, but I'm pretty sure I thought that this one looked a little bit lighter this morning, but as time went on, now I feel like this foundation is looking a little bit darker, whereas the light reflecting one, I don't think that the shade has changed at all. I just think that this color is just like a smidge too dark for me, but the color has not darkened, whereas over here it just looks like a little darker a little bit more red, especially around the perimeter neck. Remember, I do have bronzer, but I'm focusing on like the foundation. Like, to me, my face just looks darker on this side, so let me know if you would agree with that. So I would say overall, based on how these two foundations worked on me, I don't think that they wear exactly the same. So I think that if you do have Sheer Glow, I would say it's worth it to also try the Light Reflecting Foundation. I mean, if you're not a stickler for foundation, and if you're someone who is just not really into like the, you know, nitpicking the foundation, then no, it's not necessary to get the Light Reflecting one. But for those of you who are, I don't think that they wore the same on my face. Like, I feel like there are a few differences, you know, in terms of how they performed, and I'm overall more satisfied with this Light Reflecting Foundation. But one more thing I want to show you guys before we end the video today. I do just want to blot this excess oil off and then repowder. So I just have a clean piece of tissue here, and I'm going to focus on blotting in my T-zone area. And I'm really interested to see right here. I mean, of course, when you take away your excess oil, that alone makes your foundation look better. But I'm interested to see how this looks. See, when I take off that excess oil, to me it looks just fine. It looks just like the I don't know why I can't remember the name of this thing to save my life. It looks just like the Light Reflecting Foundation when I blot off that excess oil. I would say maybe this side still looks a little bit better, but I mean, to me they're pretty much comparable right now. But if you have oily skin like me, when your skin starts to oil up, it seems like for me the Sheer Glow foundation just makes the skin look a little bit more textured as your oils start to come through. I took my powder brush downstairs to wash it. All right, I'm just going to use another brush. I try to always like wash the brushes like shortly after I use them. So I'm just going to go in with this one. This is the powder brush that I normally would use. I just wanted to change it up for today, but I'll go in with my usual powder brush. So this is what we look like after repowdering, and I think now the Sheer Glow foundation looks just fine. So just to kind of reiterate what I just said, for the Sheer Glow foundation, especially if you have oily skin, I think it looked really good when I first put it on, and I think it looks really good after you refresh the makeup. But if you get oily during the day, that's when the makeup starts to look just a tad bit textured, but nothing too crazy. And I really don't have too much to say about this foundation. Nothing bad to say. Like, it's still definitely going to oil up on you, or at least it did on me. But even when your skin starts to get shiny, it just looks like a normal shine. It doesn't have that texture like the Sheer Glow foundation did. But the Sheer Glow foundation, like, the texture wasn't crazy. Like, this is something that, you know, I would wear if I needed to throw something on for just like a couple hours or something like that. But I will tell you my final thought between these two foundations. They're not exactly the same, and I would recommend the Light Reflecting Foundation over Sheer Glow. So let me know what y'all think about today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel before you head out. And if you can think of any foundation versus foundation videos that you would like for me to do, let me know in the comments. So I hope to see y'all back here for my next one. Until then, take care. Have a good one, y'all. Bye.